Hi all.
Hello.
Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
All great.
Hey, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice. Maybe just wait for 1 or 2 more minutes. Nice. Looks like we've got a good turnout today. Yeah, I'll be helping with doing the call today. Hello, everyone. Okay. Yeah, welcome to the PeerDAS breakout call. Wow, okay, with a bigger group today. Right. Okay. I think it's also recording as well. Cool. Yeah, I think we can get started. Maybe we just start with some client updates first. Is Manu here today?
Yeah, I am.
Hey.
Hey. So during the last 2 weeks, I worked a little bit on validator custody. It's not yet implemented, but it is in progress. Also, I run all my test scenarios against Teku, Lighthouse, Nimbus, and Grandin, and Prism, of course. It's mainly okay. There is a few test cases which are not okay, but it should not prevent us to, in my opinion, to run an XDevNet. Also, I had some bugs like sometimes Prism used during sync to request blobs by range for columns for blocks without any blob. And yeah, I fix this kind of bugs. Yeah, that's pretty it.
Nice. Thanks, Manu. Yeah, I can give an update for Lighthouse. We've also been doing pretty much the same, investigating validator custody, and also we've done a bit of interop testing with most clients, and we've found a few small bugs. On the Lighthouse side, the bugs that we found are mostly not PeerDAS related, but when it happens, one of the sync bug, when it happens, it's a lot more easier for us to fork away because I'm running on a small DevNet, and the custody, like because of the custody requirements, it's a lot easier if you lose 1 or 2 peers, then it's hard to sync when there's only like 5 nodes. So I think yeah, we've raised issues for those, but I think we are pretty much ready for DevNet, and we're probably just going to spend 1 or 2 days doing this test scenarios that Manu came up with. Yeah, that's pretty much it from Lighthouse side. And we're also going to spend some more time on validator custody this week. Yeah, that's all. Is Teku here today? Dimitri? Yeah.
We have updated Teku to the latest specs, including the couple of subnets, and we are ready for DevNet. We have added great acceptance tests with 2 nodes syncing to avoid regression in the future. And we have added reconstruction of data columns from EL get engine blobs. It is turned on by default in Supernode. And I think I have a feeling that it would be good to include this in spec, so all clients will reconstruct it. But I want to revisit it on free questions. That's all.
Nice. Thanks, Dimitri. Yeah, I think adding the get EL blob reconstruction will be pretty useful. Okay, so we got Nimbus? Is I don't see Nimbus. Maybe Lodestar, Matt. You want to go?
Yep. We're on the latest spec and got the decoupling done, going through the test scenarios, and we're going to look at validator custody this sprint. So, but we're ready for DevNet as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. That's great. Great to hear. What else? We got. Have we got Grandy?
Yeah, so for over the 2 weeks, we Povis from Grandin team have found the issue on the peer that try to sync from Grandin and get immediately disconnect from Grandin due to the issue on the finalized route checking that the Grandin only checking only the memory on not because the finalized epoch haven't persist in the storage. So that issue has been fixed, and another update is have been moved the data column topic into the core topic subscriptions. Also have been prevent the block subnet from resubscription. Excuse me.
Oops, sorry, I think there's a little background maybe from Solius.
Yes, really.
I might have to mute. I actually can't mute. Solius, do you mind muting your mic? Yeah, thanks. Cool. Have I missed any clients? I think. Okay, so Grandin's fixed a sync bug. Are you guys also PeerDAS DevNet already?
So for the scenario test, I have been debugging on all those that failed. For the reconstruction errors, we found a bug on over data availability checker. That's why that some of full node have been forked out because of the checkings when we handle the blocks. So this issue has been fixed, and also we have been refactored column syncing. And another issue on the when the client when the peer try to sync in the finalized network, this issue also have been fixed that due to the peer disconnection issues. And another issue that we found not really related to the PeerDAS, but regarding to the friend when Grandin try to sync from the unfinalized networks. So this issue have been reported. So maybe some folk from Grandin team will be because this is not related to the PeerDAS.
Right, I see.
So
I
it
see.
is already. Yeah, already.
Okay, great. So so you mentioned that the sync issues are mostly not related to PeerDAS.
Yes. For the sync issue, it's not related to PeerDAS.
Okay, nice. Thank you, Hanya. Okay. So we don't have Nimbus, I guess. Maybe we can talk about DevNet. Does anyone here want to talk about a DevNet launch date? Like maybe, yeah.
In my opinion, we should launch a DevNet as soon as possible. Even if everybody's not yet ready, I think we should launch, and for people not ready, we should for clients who are not, which are not ready, we should create the validators, and they will miss some slots until they join the network, but it should be okay. It should not prevent the finalization of the network. And I don't really see a reason why not to launch DevNet right now. Maybe it will fail, but at least we will learn something.
Yeah, I think it'll be great to start. Well, given that most clients already have started doing drop testing. Parry mentioned that wanted to decide on DevNet parameters. Anyone have any thoughts on this? Should we go with what we had before? Yeah, Francesco mentioned that is it worth doing one with supernodes only first?
Seems like a good idea.
Do we want to like maybe just put the validators on the supernode and still run some full nodes? Does that make sense?
Actually, that would be good, so we could see what's happening in the logs on the full node rather than super nodes.
Cool. Any other opinions?
Can we start with supernode only, and if we see that everything is going well, we can just remove the supernodes flags from some of the nodes later?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I realized my audio was piping in the wrong place.
Sorry?
Could you repeat what you said? I didn't hear the.
Yeah. So there is this idea to start a new DevNet with supernodes only, which could be a good idea. My question is, would it be possible to start the DevNet with supernode only? And if after a few days we see that everything is going all right, we just remove the supernodes, basically the subscribe to all subnets flags for some nodes. We restart the nodes, and so we switch from a supernodes only DevNet to a mix of supernodes and full nodes DevNet.
Yeah, that would be possible. Do we want to have the DevNet to be the same size / number of nodes as PeerDAS DevNet 3? Or do we want more nodes or smaller network, or what do we want there?
I don't remember what it was for DevNet 3. It was 3 supernode and 6 full nodes. I'm not sure.
I think we had something like probably 10 to 15 nodes.
Sorry, Parry, 10 to 15 nodes and how many supernodes with it?
I can look up the spec sheet. I don't have that number at heart right now.
So that's fine. That's okay. I think it'll be great. What Manu and Francesco suggested. Maybe we start with supernode network that has value attached to it. We can run some full nodes with no validators, and then if it goes well, then we can probably switch some validator beacon nodes to full nodes. If that's not too hard.
Yeah, that should be easy. Let's do that. And everyone's okay with me using the branches we have in the spec sheet, right?
Yeah, Teku's okay.
I'm okay as well.
Yeah, Lighthouse is okay as well. Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's everything we need then.
Yes. Regarding to the image, I would like to reveal the image from the same branch that been pinned on the switch.
Okay, so same branch for Grandin as well. Yep.
Yeah.
So I missed Lodestar. Matt, is it the same image as well?
Yeah, PeerDAS. So I talked with Barry about it.
Okay, great, thanks. And I think Manu mentioned that we want to launch it ASAP. Yeah, I agree as well. Anyone wants to wait a bit more, or are we okay to launch ASAP? It looks like we can launch after this call. Okay, thanks, Barry. Yeah, so cool. So we've got DevNet 4 coming. Is it? Yeah, I guess it's a bit too early to talk about DevNet 5. Does anyone want to talk about what to include? Or I guess we can probably move it to the next call if I guess there's a lot of testing required.
For sure, I guess in DevNet 5 we can include validator custody.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think that would be great. And also, I was thinking, I think it sounds like Teiku's already implemented distributed block building. I don't know how many clients have implemented it. I think we've talked about maybe including that in the spec, and I think it would be great to maybe include that in DevNet 5 as well. Yeah, validator custody was optional for DevNet 4. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's implemented it, but it'll be nice to include it in DevNet 5 for all the clients. I was thinking for DevNet 5, do we want to maintain the same block count, or do we want to try something a bit more aggressive?
If we are good in the net 4, it would be good to try something more aggressive.
Nice. Thanks, Dimitri. Anything else for DevNet?
How do we generally plan on testing how well distributed block building works? Because it feels like such small devnets wouldn't really be helpful. Like if it's, you know, I don't know, 20 nodes or something, we can't even fill the subnets with regular nodes. Like everyone is just gonna be connected to super nodes, and that'll be like the main way that you get data. So it's like a very different kind of yeah, I mean, in general, just like a completely different network than mainnet or a testnet. So how, yeah, like at which point will we start trying to figure out how well it works in practice, and how do we go about doing that?
Yeah, I agree with Francesco. I think we probably need to draft up a few scenarios that we want to test. Yeah, I think we probably want to just make sure we have enough scenarios. Maybe if anyone has time, maybe we can work on something to maybe list a few scenarios, like what Manu did. Have a handy document to figure out the scenario they want to test against. Yeah, and we also probably want to think about the number of nodes as well to make it useful. Yeah, I feel like this will actually require a bit of analysis as well. I'm not sure if people look at a blog post that Lighthouse we've done before. We've spun up a network of 100 nodes and trying to do some measurement of the effectiveness of distributed block building. But that was kind of basic. So I was hoping if we had more time, I think it'd be great to maybe do a cross-client effort trying to test out how effective the distributed block building is. So Paris linked the DevNet 5 document. Maybe we can also include that in there as well. Yeah, sorry, Francesca. I'm not sure if I answered your question. Does anyone else have any thoughts on testing distributed block building?
An idea would be to limit the peer count in clients. I don't know if it is possible to do in all the clients. At least in Prism, you can specify the maximum number of peers you want. So it will help to test the distributed block building in like in a real network where not every peer are connected to every other peer of the network.
We also have the ability to add some packet drop and rate limit and latency filters on the network itself, like on the NIC. So if that helps with pushing the network towards more block building tests or edge case tests, then we can also enable it.
Sorry, Para, I missed that. Enable what?
Yeah, so we can do rate limits, packet drops, and latency increases on each host, and as fine-grained as we want. So you could say the default PeerDAS DevNet 4 is every node has gigabit internet everywhere and is basically peer to everything. But then we could limit the peer count as well as drop packets, as well as limit internet bandwidth to like 10 Mbps or whatever we want to see. And then see how the network performs if that helps. But I think from our side, it would be really nice if we can have a list of things you guys want to see. I think how we achieve it, we can figure it out quite easily. We just need someone to come up with the list.
Yeah, sure. I can probably start with some testing scenarios and add it to the DevNet 5 documents. And it would be great if people can review it and maybe add a few more if you have anything in mind. Yeah, Chaba, I was thinking maybe package drop would I don't know, I think it might be useful to test scenarios where like columns doesn't reach the peers and and like no could find other ways to get the columns in some other ways.
Yeah, so I think we could try to artificially disrupt some subnets. I don't know what would be the right way to do that. Just select a subnet and some nodes which can easily support that are not pushing that out simply. And not every client has to support that, just one. And when it happens, that's not pushing it out. We know which one it is. We know that will happen, and then we see what's happening as the aftermath of that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think Prism and Lighthouse have ways to disabling publishing some columns.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
it would even be good to just not publish anything, just publish the block only, and then just see if things can work without actually the proposer really doing anything other than pushing out the block.
Yeah, yeah, I think we can include that as well.
Yep.
If there's a few things in the chat. I'm just going through just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Malicious PS. Yeah, we've got Prism. That's malicious. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think there's a lot of scenarios that we can add. Yeah, Prism also had the focus cell thing. Yeah, I think we can probably discuss these scenarios async and add it to the document. Yeah, so I've linked the PeerDAS DevNet 5 link in the notes as well. Any other topic to discuss for DevNet 5? It sounds like we're getting a lot closer to doing some like some edge case testing in the next few DevNets, which is good. Cool. If there's no more DevNet updates, then we can move on to spec discussions. Anyone wants to raise anything about the spec? I think there's something in the agenda. Wait a second. Oh, yeah, I did mention a few things on the agenda. So one of the question I want to ask is whether it makes sense to add some more description to validated custody, because I think we probably need to figure out like how the backfilling of columns work. Or I think at the moment we kind of assume that if we add more balance to the validator, then we increase the custody group count, and the node is then supposed to serve those columns. But it's not explicitly mentioned in the spec that we should backfill to the entire DA window. Does it make sense to add a spec item for that, just to be explicit? Or
Yeah, I think I agree. Explicit is better in this case.
yeah, I haven't actually looked too much into the backfilling. So we could probably look into that unless anyone else is also looking at validated custody. I think Manu's been looking at validated custody. Have you noticed anything else that we should add to the spec?
Yeah, actually, you mentioned it maybe 2 weeks ago. Should we update the node record and the metadata only when we finish backfilling, or as soon as some new validators are added to the validator client? The issue if we increase the CGC in the ENR as soon as new validators are managed by the beacon node is if we don't had enough time to backfill the blobs, the data columns, then some peers may try to request by route or by range some data columns we don't have yet, and some peers may disconnect or at least decrease don't score us for that.
Given that this version validator custody just fully relies on kind of honest behavior of nodes and doesn't have any sort of accountable component, I think it would be better to just only update these things once you have backfilled everything, so that you avoid what you said, given that there isn't any like possible punishment that can come from that. Like it can never be that someone says, "Oh, you attested to this thing that wasn't available," even though you're supposed to have backfilled it or something like that. So it's like safe to do, and I think it seems like the most straightforward behavior.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, seems like a simple solution, and I've seen some thumbs up, so maybe that's something we can go with. Yeah, will someone be able to create a spec PR? I think there might also be some clarification that we wanted to add, including actually I think Francesco's solution might cover like the questions that we talked about before. If anyone can work on spec PR, that would be great. Cool. Yeah, another question I had was with distributed block building. I kind of wanted to see what everyone thinks. Like, what's the minimum form of distributed block building we need for shipping PeerDAS in Fulu? Because at the moment, I think clients have implemented it maybe slightly differently. Do we want to have a spec item for describing the distributed block building that goes into Fulu? Oops, sorry, I don't know, Francesco, I just saw your message. What should go into that spec here? Yeah, I guess not updating until after backfilling and the explicit requirement to backfill. Yeah, I think that was all right. I don't know if there's anything else missing. Manu, does that cover what you mentioned?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, then we can move on to the distributed block building topic. Yeah, I was asking if we want to have this in the spec, or do we just go like, do we just implement our own solution? Does anyone have any thoughts on what sort of distributed block building we should have for Fulu? I think there's a separate breakout code that's been happening. I'm not sure if there's any progress there.
Something that could go in the specs is the publishing behavior, like something like proposer may publish just a block or something like that. If all the blobs are just coming from the mempool. Or I mean, anyway, it's maybe some kind of specification of like when we consider it safe to do that. Like, I don't know, maybe you're supposed to only include blobs that you saw a few seconds before to be safe, or I don't know, something along these lines. Then I guess there's the reconstruct and repropagate part, which I guess is already in the spec, and it's sort of maybe not. Oh, well, okay, yeah, that's already in the spec, but not necessarily. There's nothing in the specs about pulling blobs from the mempool, right?
Not specifically for PeerDAS as far as I know. I think there's a P2P clarification PR that I think Enrico did, but that was for blobs. I don't think there's anything specific for columns and having to do reconstruction on the blobs and publishing the columns. I don't think there's anything yet in the spec. Yeah, I think there's also one optimization that we've done in Lighthouse, and like we call it like gradual publication when we do fetching block EL. So we don't publish all the columns that we reconstruct because that would like take up a lot of upload bandwidth. So we gradually publish them. So if we receive them over gossip, then we don't publish them. So that will kind of reduce the required outbound bandwidth for nodes that implement distributed block building. So everyone ended up like publishing a small subset of random columns instead. instead of like publishing everything all 128 columns. Yeah, I think that's probably also worth. I don't know. I don't know if that's worth including in the spec, but I think that's just a bandwidth problem. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, to me, it just doesn't seem like something that there's very clearly a lot of value in having in like a unique spec strategy. Like it's, I mean, this what you said seems pretty reasonable, but I could see that there's many like little variants that clients could implement.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. It doesn't really impact interop or anything. Yeah. So yeah, I can. I mean, I can open the issue in the consensus spec repo on this. See if anyone's able to create a PR for the publishing behavior bit. I think the next item I wanted to ask in the agenda was the desk parameters that we want for production. We kind of talked about this in the DevNet 5 spec. It feels like we still need some research and analysis. I don't know if it's a bit premature, but I was wondering if client teams think having 100-column subnet is okay with the current setup. Because I think with Lighthouse, we've tried doing some simulation with a big network and of full nodes, so there's no super nodes, and I feel like sometimes we struggle to find enough peers, and we might have to increase block counts. But this is not something very Lighthouse specific. But I was wondering if people think that if we need to do any more further analysis on things like subnet count and any other DAS parameter update, or are we okay with the current spec parameters? You should maybe let me change the question a little bit. I think initially we started with 64 subnets. We changed to 128. Was it just because we wanted to make it a bit simpler and also a bit faster to do one column per subnet?
No, the reason was because we kind of needed, once we basically relied on the subnet sampling part for testing, like there not being like peer sampling kind of in the critical path order right now at all. You kind of need the number of samples that you get to be high enough, and then if we had not enough subnets, this would mean that we had like very little out of sharding essentially. Like with 64, we'd only get that you basically end up downloading like 1/4 of the whole data. So it's really, yeah, basically just like an efficiency thing. Like from like the perspective of like how much data you end up downloading out of the total. Sorry, I mean, like, yeah, like combination of efficiency and security in the sense that security like forces the fact that we have to download at least 8, and this is a number that's independent of essentially independent of the total number of subnets. And then yeah, given that you have this 8 floor, then the number of subnets kind of determines how efficient the whole thing is. But
Yeah,
like it feels to me like it's pretty hard to get a good sense of whether or not there's going to be a problem here without something much bigger than these DevNets.
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how clients perform on a full node only DevNet with like sufficient number of nodes, because that'll really test out whether the subnet count is too much for the current peer count for each client. I think for Lighthouse we have 100 peers, like target peers, So sometimes we would notice that there's some subnet that has no peers. So with 128 subnet count, we might have to probably increase our peer count. And for us, that will probably consume more resources. Hey, Chaba, sorry, I just saw your message. What's RS extension? I'm ask.
Is the least Solomon extension of the code extension factor, which is 2.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
So it's equals to 128 as the factor of 2, and that gives the kind of the baseline. Or the coordinate, if you want.
Yeah, I think my only concern is changing key account on clients may have an impact on the network structure. So I think that's something that we would have to really test it out. So with 128 subnets, then we'll have to increase the target peer count in Lighthouse.
Yeah, there are clients operating with larger peer count already, so that's gives some peace of mind, but that's for that there are no structural issues, but individual implementations each might have difficulties with larger peer counts.
Right. Thanks. Any more spec items to discuss?
Not so much of a spec item, but going back to block publication and column publication, all this stuff. I was wondering, is this strategy that's currently implemented like the sort of normal one, I guess, that we do for a publication, where in each column subnet you're just gonna send the message, like the column to all mesh peers, or something else? So I was wondering, is there any reason why we wouldn't want to, for example, do something like first send one column to, like, make sure that you send one column first, as opposed to like sending everything in parallel, like especially given that we have that we do have the Reed Solomon expansion, so it is even okay if like some column or even like a bunch of the columns end up making it through the network like slower than others.
Does anyone have any thoughts on this?
So I can just say what we do in simulations, and what pays out is really to make sure one copy of everything is sent out first, and then a second copy, and then a third copy, and you are not prioritizing in any way one column over the other, so which kills performance.
Yeah, I didn't mean prioritizing like a column over another column, but like within each column subnet to, yeah, exactly what you said, like to like first send to like one peer, and make sure that like at least one copy goes out like in each subnet.
Yeah, that's what we do in the simulations, and also in the P2P, namely P2P based implementation, and that helps because you don't have that kind of artificially induced tail of the distribution where you are leaving something to the end, and it depends on how much bandwidth bottleneck you have. But if you do have problems pushing out, then you are shooting yourself in the foot by basically delaying part of the. So you have some things which are super populated, super diffused in the network, and other things which you still didn't send out, so they cannot be just by definition diffused in the system, and that's a problem. But yeah, and this is one way of mitigating it.
Yeah, I guess that'll be really helpful. But I think the current implementation actually, yeah, I don't think we have control over like sending things sequentially to mesh peers. Yeah, anyone please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if any libp2p implementation supports that at the moment. Does anyone know?
There's a staggered sending in the NIM implementation, which is kind of doing something similar, but that's, as far as I remember, is time-based. So you are. So the thing is, if you want to do this, you have to keep state of, you have to introduce another queue or something in some way, one way or another, because I suppose everyone is just taking a message, basically queuing it to be sent to every one of the peers, mesh peers, and then going to the next message. And that means that that the ordering will be wrong. So you would have to queue them somewhere, and you need an extra queue in the implementation, and that has some complexity. I've started to add this to the NIM implementation, for example, but I also didn't finish that because of the complexities and the queuing and other things I had to introduce. So
yeah, thanks, Shaba. So it seems like this is not like the default. I mean, this feature is not supported by default in the P2P spec. Yeah, sorry. So go ahead.
No, it's absolutely not in the spec. The spec is not saying anything. I think the spec is not saying anything about the immediateness of sending out. It's just simply not part of the spec when you send out.
Okay, thanks. Does any client have this implemented? Yeah, it seems like this will be a libp2p. I mean, we need some changes at the libp2p layer to allow for this. It seems pretty useful. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I guess we can probably. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I can write it up for the P2P. I already had some write-ups on this in the PeerDAS write-up, for example. So I can try to specify it in a way that it's more implementable.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I think this will be super useful. Maybe we can test out like how the current implementation, how well the current implementation work. But in the future, this is definitely something that we improve. Although I'm not sure if we just can't go to production without this. I think maybe we should do some testing to see if we need it as powerfully. But yeah, thanks, Shaba. And Francesco, are you happy with this?
Yeah. I mean, what Chava was mentioning is exactly what I meant.
Cool. Thanks. Right. I think on the agenda, there's also Harry also brought up that whether want to move the call to 8 o'clock in the future to allow other breakout rooms. Anyone have any thoughts on this?
Sorry for the dummy question, but what exactly 8 o'clock is? It's 3 p.m. UTC?
Yeah, exactly. It's just that most of the breakout rooms happen at that time, and I think there are at least a few people in the US time zone, but who would want to join. But yeah, it's up to I guess, the implementers to decide what's the best time.
Is that okay for Lighthouse? Or it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I definitely can't join, but you've got people in our team that can join, so that's no problem.
Is that 3 hours after this one started or 4 hours after this one started?
Oh,
It's basically the same time ACD happens, as in the time, not the day.
Yep. Yep. If it's an hour, yeah, that's fine for us also.
Should we just take a poll and see if see who would want it changed to begin with? I mean, this time works for me as well, but I'm mainly just conveying the information from people who aren't usually on this call. Maybe we can create a poll on PeerDAS testing and take it from there.
It sounds good. Yeah, you also mentioned about the frequency, Harry. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, it feels like we're starting to hit the stage where we're having more realistic devnets, and we want to try and ship on mainnet as soon as possible post Petra. So I wanted to bring up maybe changing the frequency of the call from once every 2 weeks to once a week. That would also align with most other breakout rooms or testing sessions. But the implications also that clients are getting closer to like shipping it and figuring out edge cases and so on. We could also reduce the duration if we want, if we increase the frequency, but just that we don't have to wait, for example, 2 weeks to decide on DevNet 5 specs, but instead we could do it async plus within a week. Okay, so I guess we take it based on the results of the poll, and then we can change the frequency to weekly.
Nice. Thanks. Ferry? Yeah, Perry, do you have access to change the calendar, the pro calendar?
I don't think I do, but if you tag Tim, I think he should be able to change it.
Okay, cool. Nice. Thanks. So Perry, you start poll on Discord, and then we can decide async whether to change the next one. Right. Actually, I have one more open question. I was wondering, yeah, I don't know if we have we don't have Kev on the call. I was wondering, what are the states of the KZG libraries? Because I kind of want to understand what we want to go live with. Is CKZG and are both CKZG and Rust KZG going to be audited and production ready? And is it longer term to maintain both libraries? I don't know if anyone can answer the question on this call. Maybe George?
Yeah, I think I cannot answer it very well. I know that CKZG and Rust KZG are ready. I think Go KZG also exists, and I think it's ready as well. I saw Kev doing some commits last week, and I think all three of them will get audited. Like we've talked to the auditors about auditing all three of them at this point. But I don't know if a client uses Go KZG at the moment. I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. Right now, Prism use CKZG, and our plan is to switch from CKZG to Go KZG. We made extensive benchmark comparing CKZG and Go KZG, and right now, the performance of Go KZG is not as good as the performance of CKZG, especially for verification. I'm talk regularly with Kev about this, and he still has some ideas to improve Go KZG performances. And my question is there any client planning to use CKZG in production or not? I guess Grounded and Lighthouse will switch to Rust, and I don't know for other clients.
We're currently using CKZG, but we're switching over to the Rust one eventually, I think.
In Teku, we use CKZG, and this is better than Rust KZG. Rust KZG is not scaled that well as CKZG, but if it's updated, we could switch. But currently, we like CKZG more.
Nice. Looks like we looks like we have at least one client using preferring one library. Yeah, for Lodestar, for Lighthouse again. We are using CKG for the net, and we're using Rust KZG for PeerDAS. And yeah, at the moment we don't have any plans to switch. I think that's one of the reason why I asked this question, because we want to figure out whether we want to support both libraries when we go live with PeerDAS. So it sounds like CKG is used and preferred by Teku, and Prism prefers Go KZG. Lodestar is going to try Rust KZG. So yeah, we've got at least one client where are using every library. Yeah, thanks, George. Yeah, it's good to know that they're all production ready. Any other open questions? Any question anyone want to talk about? Hey, Kaya.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'd like to talk about metrics. I would like to quickly share my screen and show you. I'm currently experimenting with the intervals, and the default interval is 15 seconds, and it kind of breaks the intervals of the slots. It looks like this, and I used a scrape interval 12 seconds and adjusted the query. And it looks like more accurate. So probably this is the largest scale, 1 hour, and it's easier to monitor from my side. And the question is, this is the whole picture for 3 clients locally. The question is, can we apply this scrape interval for DevNet? Or not, or it will break anything. I think we can even reload Prometheus on the go, not shutting down the whole DevNet. Perry, what do you think?
Sorry, could you repeat the last bit?
Yeah, I think if we start DevNet with a 20-second scrape interval and it works bad, so probably we can just reload Prometheus, not shutting down the whole DevNet.
Yeah, that should be okay.
So it's kind of up to you. If we can, I would like to try this scrape interval for the next DevNet. And
yeah, let's do it.
Another question I'm trying to investigate if we can align the beginning of the slot to the Prometheus. So the idea is to compare the Prometheus with the slot start, because I think it's kind of, it starts somewhere, every 5th slot starts at 0, 0. So probably we can kind of use some delay maybe, or anything else, or reload of Prometheus at the very beginning when we launch the DevNet, for example, and try to catch the beginning of the slot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've tried doing that in the past. It just gets very tricky. The easier approach is to just scrape more often. For example, 10 seconds instead of 15. And then you're definitely getting the value at every slot. But the problem with doing that is you're increasing the number of scrapes, and then you're using up more disk space. And at least in the past, it wasn't really worth it. We can do it for PeerDAS, but yeah, I think our default is at 30 seconds a scrape or something, and it doesn't meaningfully change because it's very rare that someone looks at metrics on a 15-minute time scale. Realistically, on a DevNet, you're looking at like 6 hours worth of metrics, and a 30-second variation or like a 15-second variation is just too small for the human eye to perceive anything.
Yeah, I don't think we need to scrape it more often. It would be like overwhelming. I think 12 seconds is the minimum we can scrape. It's somewhere close to 15 seconds, which is default now. Okay, so yeah, probably we'll discuss it in DMs. So another question is custody. So this is what I have for custody now. I just count the columns when they are written in the database. This is the Prism example. And I would like to know if it makes sense to count it in that way or not. What we would like to see for custody measurement. So we just see the columns, how many columns we write into the database. Does it make any sense or?
It's not clear if it was a block with blobs or not. If it does it miss downloading and writing, or it's just a block without blobs?
Sorry, I think it's just kind of writing, not downloading.
I mean, you have gaps here with zero data columns, and it's not clear, was it a block without blobs at all? And so it should not be any data columns in it. Or it was an error.
Yeah, this is something that should be investigated. I would like to discuss it with Manu because it's not 0, it's 8, and the yellow is a full node. So for super node, it works good, like it's stable, 128, and for full node, yeah, I also have questions for this, but just to abstract from this graph, what do we want to count for custody? What do we want to monitor for custody? Is it how many columns? Because we write columns into the database, and is it enough or not to measure and to observe? Because if we use some more complicated calculations for how many columns we store, we need some events to to monitor how many columns we store. So it could be an issue for the clients.
My question is, why do we want this? Sorry, go ahead.
No, so I was going to say that we the time is up, so I was wondering if we want to discuss this async. But yeah, maybe Manu, you want to finish your question first, if it's short.
Yeah, no, my question is about the necessity of this metric. Do we really need this metric or not? I mean, what are we going to do with this metric?
Yeah, my question is the same. Do we actually need it or not? So probably it's just useless. or I can try at least monitor it locally for some clients and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it might make sense for people to look at the spec PR again, just to get a bit of context, and maybe we can continue to discuss this async there and to decide whether we want to include this metric. But I feel like there might be a bit of lack of context here, so it might be worth that to do this async just to make sure everyone understands before we remove this. Does that make sense?
Sure, I will. Yeah, sure. I will share the link to the Spanx in the testing channel. PeerDAS testing channel. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Kaya.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We're a bit over time, so so we're gonna wrap up here, and we will continue the discussion async, and I guess we'll poll on the next breakout time on Discord. So yeah, that's all. Thanks everyone for joining today. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye guys. Thank everyone. Bye.